Hello everybody, I'm Katie Kelly, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about one of my many career failures. This is just one, a little special one. So I am a PR and marketing consultant now. I've spent nearly 2 decades doing marketing for agencies, B2B, and COO roles. So things went pretty well in the end, but this is actually talking about a time where things didn't go so well. So this is me in 2008. I thought I was the dog's bollocks. I was in my 2nd year of university, and I really thought I knew what I was doing. I was studying advertising and brand management, but I just moved from a tiny little town in England to Manchester. And just to highlight how naive I was, I'd never even had a curry at this point. So like the world was very new to me. I thought I knew what I was doing. So I entered this competition for summer school at this huge agency, and I got through to the final place. And it was kind of a big deal because at the time there was 200 people in my course, and it would have made just such a big difference to my career if I got this internship. It was a huge network agency, global, all the big names. So yeah, kind of a big deal. But it's not really who, it's okay, don't worry. It was not really who excited me, but it was a big deal. But the people that did excite me were these agencies called Cunning Stunts in London. And they did really wacky, cool, creative, racy, sometimes borderline, risky stuff. And one of the things, for example, they did was they used to pay students to rent out their foreheads. So they would put temporary tattoos on students' foreheads as advertising, which I thought was wicked. And I thought all agencies were like this, okay? I thought they were all really cool, really kooky out there, pushing the boundaries, and that's who I wanted to work for. So just a little prelude to excuse some of the following failures of mine. So obviously I needed a big idea. This was a big deal, I needed a big idea. We work in marketing and advertising. And my big idea, based on all of this, was I wanted to try and get them to fall in love with me. Again, 19 years old, very naive, thought I could get somebody to fall in love with me within 20 minutes. So I was gonna have a pitch with this agency, and I got 20 minutes, and it was gonna be 3 directors. So I started to think, how can I use this big idea in this 20-minute pitch to sell myself? So this is actually a real email I sent to them ahead of the interview. I don't know how many of you ask if there's going to be a chair at your interview, but for some reason I felt the need to ask. But I also needed the ability to dim or turn off the lights and have easy access to a power supply. All will become clear on Thursday. I bet you Tracy could not wait. So I turn up on Thursday, and I'm sat in this queue of people waiting to go in. I'm dressed a little bit like today. Again, naivety and some bad advice. I thought advertising agencies were trendy and cool. This was a very corporate agency. A very straight-thinking corporate agency, and everyone, including all the other people that were there for the interview, were obviously dressed in professional suits. So I started to feel a little bit nervous, but I plowed on. Now, I wanted to get people to fall in love with me, so I decided for my 20 minutes, I was gonna use my recipe for romance. And the first thing I thought about was candles. So I go into the room, and there's these 3 directors sat there, very stony-faced. And I got out my little candles that I brought with me, turned off the lights, so we're sat in near darkness, and I put them out in front of them, and I go to light them, and the HR director says to me, "I'm sorry, you can't light those in here, it's a fire hazard." It's like, okay, so we're just kind of sat there with these on the table. It's fine, okay, not really the vibe I was going for, but still, we'll push on. Next thing, confetti. Now, I know this is more of a wedding thing really, but again, 19 didn't really know. And what I'd done was I'd spent hours cutting out my name initials out of crepe paper to make confetti, because branding. So I scattered these pieces of confetti out in front of these 3 directors. It's just as well those candles weren't lit, because it would have been a fire hazard. So I scattered them out and we sat there. And then, don't know what you think next. Any guesses?
Chocolate.
Bonnie Tyler. For those of you who don't know who Bonnie Tyler is a singer from the 80s. And she sung a song called Total Eclipse of the Heart. You need some background music to set the scene when you're doing romance. So I had brought a CD player with me. These were the times where you had portable CD players, so I needed the power supply. So I sat in near darkness, confetti, unlit candles, I crawl under the table, these 3 directors sat there in silence, and I rummage around for the power supply, and finally I get it playing. But this wasn't just any version of the song. I had recorded a special version. So every time Bonnie sang Turn Around, I sung over the top, Hire Me. And unfortunately, the song isn't playing. It's meant to play on this, but do you know what? I'm really quite glad it's not. So let's move on. So that's playing, we've got everything, we sat in the dark. What next? Online stalking. So this was the final thing I did. I stalked them. This is actually Facebook from 2008, for those of you who are babies. I found the 3 directors that I was going to be presenting to on Facebook, and I found out what their interests were, and I bought them a gift that I thought they would like based on their interests. So, for example, the HR director was into cooking, so I bought her a special spoon, and the guy was, I don't know, I can't remember, Yorkshire and like beer, so I bought him a stout, whatever. So they'd give them the gifts and not really getting the reception I'd hoped for at this point. I put in a lot of effort. Okay, fine. It was about this point that I realised I was doing all of this in the glass boardroom that overlooked the entire open plan office. So there was about 100 people sat watching and listening to Bonnie Tyler, and watching this all unfold in the boardroom. And I did start to question, maybe I've misjudged this. Maybe I fucked up. And I don't know what you would do in this position, but I still had 15 minutes left of my pitch. But I had spent 90% of my time coming up with the romantic vibe idea and about 10% thinking what I was going to say after. So for the next 15 minutes, I just blabbed and blabbed and blabbed. I had no idea what I was going to say, something about consumer behavior and marketing, I don't know. Anyway, luckily I can talk for England, so we got through to the end, and this was the HR director's face. But I'm very naive and a little bit optimistic, and there was part of me that still thought, maybe this hasn't gone as badly as I thought. Maybe I still have a chance. And I'd always been taught to assume the sale. So I confidently said at the end, she asked if I had any questions, and I said, if I were to get this job, what kind of progression could I expect in the agency? You know, like, where am I going here? And she looked at me and she said, we'd only discuss that with somebody that we thought was going somewhere. So, yeah, I was left in no doubt that this hadn't gone well. And it was really terrible. I walked out feeling, obviously, like a complete idiot. I was near tears. I realized how much I'd fucked up, and I was embarrassed and just frustrated with myself for being so stupid. Oh, this is actually an older version, never mind. I did learn some very, very important lessons. So, number 1, are you delusional? It's an important question. I was 19 with 2 years of university experience, but I thought I was a creative genius, and nothing was gonna tell me otherwise. I had so much ego, I had so much confidence, and I just thought, I know what I'm doing. This is a hard question to answer, however, because if you're being delusional, it doesn't really, so I have two questions, okay, that you can ask yourself to know. Are you asking the right questions? And I say right, because what I was doing was I was going to my friends at uni and saying, hey, I got this thing I'm going to do. Do you think it's a cool idea? And they'd go, yeah. Let's see Katie do something really stupid. So don't ask that as not the right question. The right question would have been, what does this agency do? What does their website look like? What's their tone of voice? What work are they proud of doing? And I probably would have realized pretty quickly that my idea was not the right idea for that agency. Second, do the right research. So again, I did do research, but it was internet stalking. I spent hours finding those people. When really what I should have been doing was looking at the agency website, reading their case studies, understanding what kind of stuff they do, what they've won awards for, what were they proud of. And again, then I would have probably realized my kooky little idea was not the right fit for this agency. And don't get attached to one idea. So my big idea about getting people to fall in love with me for this pitch wasn't necessarily bad, but there are 1,000 ways you can execute on that idea. And instead, I just came up with this idea, and I got so attached to it, and I fell in love with the idea, and just drank my own Kool-Aid like I didn't care. And instead, if I'd done the right research and asked the right questions, come up with my big idea, and then looked at all the ways I could have executed that, I would have probably come up with something more academic, a nice pitch about some models and brand advertising and marketing, blah, 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 blah. And it probably would have gone down really well, but I didn't do that, so learn from me. Oh yeah, this is the old version, just to surprise me, you fucker. So finally, look at the big picture. No matter how badly things go, at the time I thought, wow, I've really, really fucked this. I fucked my career. 100 people in Manchester have just seen me, make an absolute idiot out of myself. But actually, do you know what? I ended up getting 2 other internships that summer. I ended up working at one of the agencies for years. I became their CMO. It all worked out in the end, probably for the best. So yeah, so just get that perspective. Thank you very much. I'm Kate Kelly. Appreciate it.